double check. Okay, and then we'll start. Let's see, and you know.
I saw her at Civic yesterday.
Yeah. We're just gonna check and see if they're downstairs.
There's a sign on the door that says,
Yeah,
Okay.
and emails went out saying, announcing it,
There was one today.
and one today.
Facebook post, yeah.
Yeah. Hands go. I don't think she's ever missed a meeting. Here she is.
No, you got signed on the door.
Yeah, it's all over Facebook.
I call this meeting to order, special meeting of the Franklin Civic Celebration Committee. I'm going to start with roll call. John Bergner, here. Robert Nacker,
Here.
Wendy Nacker,
Here.
Doug Clark, Miro Kresovic,
Present.
Alderwoman Hanneman,
Here.
Ann Adamski.
Here.
Okay, and then we will open up with a citizen comments.
Forget the fact, I can read it.
Oh, we got, yes. Okay, Mr. Pete, you want to lead us?
with allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We got a microphone set up here, open citizen comments. Would you like to make some comments? Okay,
All right, name is Jim Lucky. Okay, 4925 West Rawson Avenue. And I guess I'm here just to find out some information on what's going on. I represent the Franklin Historical Society and the Franklin Noon Lions Club, and of course, we've been very involved in the Civic Celebration Historical Society for decades, and as is the Lions Club. And I guess the first question I would maybe ask you, are you going to make some sort of decision tonight, or recommend that we go forward with the Civic celebration? I don't know, John, maybe you could answer that for me, please?
yeah, we're gonna debate, we're gonna come up with a decision from our committee, of course, and then we give that recommendation to common council. They're the ones that'll, go with our, have to make a decision, a yes or no. But they've given it in our hands, because we do all the work for it. And tonight we want to be able to present that to them and let them decide that.
Okay, I did not see that on tomorrow's council's agenda. Will that
No,
decision?
because, yeah,
It's
no,
not
it'll have to be in 2 weeks.
in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, well,
They've given us, the full opportunity because we know, what we have to go through to have it. I'm pretty confident that they would accept what we accept.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Well,
Yeah.
I'll move forward to just a comment or two then, okay?
Yeah.
It's just fully understanding, foremost is the health and safety of all the Franklin citizens, okay? And I also clearly understand the logistics in trying to put this together. I mean, we're just a hair over a month from doing this, from entertainment, or, you know, what have you. And I kind of hope we could have something for the celebration. I mean, this is something that's been going on for so many years, and it's so important to our city that something that happens. If it's just one day or some symbol of our country's birth, I think should go forward, okay? I mean, I leave that, you know, to the wisdom of your committee, because I know many of you on this committee, and I know how hard you have worked for so many years and have done such a fantastic job. And so what you can do would be greatly appreciated. And I just have to say, though, that a decision needs to be made pretty soon. It's just, you know, we have a lot of people relying, hoping that one way or another, for planning purposes, are just what we're going to do, okay? And I guess that's the gist of what I'm trying to tell you. So, thank you.
Okay. Okay, then I'd like to open it up and hear all your guys' views and suggestions, and then, you know, we'll come up with a vote at the end. You know, and you know, what you run into with the volunteers.
Yeah, this year, the volunteers have been very light. Normally, we get a lot of volunteers sign up in February and March. And with everything going on with the coronavirus and such, people I think, are afraid to gather in groups. So the volunteers are quite light. And talking to John before the meeting a little bit here, some of the events, like July 3rd, we're okay with it. We're pretty good there. On the 3rd, we got people for the beer tent and the chicken booth. Saturday the 4th, we're got enough for the noon to 4 shift and 4 to 7:30, but we've got nobody volunteering from the 7:30 to 11 p.m. shift on the 4th. And likewise, well, with the beer tent, we've got volunteers from noon to 4, and nobody signed up for 4 to 7 or 7 to 11. So unless we can dig up some volunteers, it's gonna be pretty hard to run the event. Sunday, I think at this point, we probably just delete that. I think we should kind of limit it to one day before, to go all out as much as we can. And I don't wanna delete the 4th completely, but we just don't have enough people to man all the other positions.
Have they had people that sign up come back to you and say, hey, what's going on?
Nobody has come back to me and asked about it, you know, so, yeah. But I just have a feeling with things that have canceled, I mean, State Fair, the fireworks downtown and things like that, if we just have the fireworks, I think we're gonna be ahead of a lot of other events. But to try and staff a 3-day event, that's gonna be pretty hard. There's lack of volunteers.
When are you going? Want to have anything?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Number one, I called the tent people, they said they would be able to provide us with tents, which, you know, that would be okay. But, for personally me, I saw what happened, on a weekend, you know, in Lake Geneva and, the place in Missouri, where so many people inundated the town with, they wanted to, because their communities weren't having anything, so they came to Wisconsin and Missouri to party. And I don't think we could handle that. That's my concern.
Bob?
Okay,
mixed kind of emotions on it, 'cause I'd like to have a festival, but boy, it seems dangerous for people to spread the COVID virus, so it's a tough decision actually. When you're selling beer, the people are right in your face, that know that I ordered a beer over what the band is playing, so it's gonna be spread if there's someone there that has COVID virus. That's what I like to say right now.
I guess I'll be the first one to say it. I think, my opinion is I would like to see the parade and the fireworks. With everything like you say, Wendy, everything that's going on, even if we had one day, we've got an awesome police department, but I don't think they're gonna be able to handle crowd control. There's gonna be so many people. And I have people I work with, in Illinois, and they're already asking what our hours are, cause they're coming up to join us, because they don't have anything down there. So I would like to see at least the parade for our veterans. Three-quarters of our parade is veterans anyway. I'd like to see that. There is a way we can do it without mingling with anybody. We can social distance that if we do it where the people are in their cars or standing on the sides and the parade actually moves through. I think it'd be easier on the officers because they wouldn't have as much crowd control to worry about. They're limited to a certain section. Whoever comes in, pulls up, you park in behind the fog lines, you're lined up there, you stay there until the parade's done. It'll be obviously shorter than normally it is, and they disperse when it's over. Fireworks, I have talked to the rep, and they are willing to collaborate with us. If we want to do some type of a display, so we can look at something like that. But honestly, those days during the day, we're gonna get inundated, and I really don't think, our guys are good too, and beer, soda, whatever we have, we're not gonna be able to keep up. Just my thought.
Mira,
I would like to see
Turn your mic on,
something.
Mira,
Oh, sorry.
and both towards you.
I would like to see something, but there is the concern about crowd control. There's the opportunity also to display our city, so it's, I guess it depends more on do we have the people to staff it and what does the health department say of that.
okay, you wanna cover that here?
Oh, I don't wanna.
Yeah, it's about the health department.
Okay, well,
Turn your mic on, sure.
I would like to defer to Courtney Day if possible, if we could invite her to speak. I don't wanna speak for her, so, but I
Yeah. Perfect.
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Courtney Day. I'm the health officer for the Franklin Health Department. And I've been in conversations with a few of you over the last month or so, trying to figure out, logistically what we could or should be doing. And I just wanted to just give you a brief kind of highlight of the stats, and then just sort of give you my recommendation from my standpoint in public health. So right now, there are 7,800 cases of COVID that have been diagnosed in Milwaukee County, which is over 40% of the cases for the entire state, and we make up approximately 47% of the deaths in the state, just within this county. So the disease burden is the highest in this part of the state, rather than any other part of the state. The disease burden is higher in Illinois than it is in Wisconsin. And Ann had alluded to, as we've seen over the last weekend, people in Illinois, much like us, are, wanting to get out, wanting to do things, and to do things means coming to Wisconsin. So there will most likely be a large increase in volume of people than we've seen in years past, just because surrounding communities have canceled. Other states that are in close proximity to us don't have the same opportunities either. So from a crowd standpoint, there's gonna be a lot more people coming, no matter what portion of this, we would choose to move forward with. So I guess my biggest concerns are just, I don't know logistically how we can control the number of people, for a lot of the events that are going on safely. Especially if the weather is nice and there are kids wanting to run around, adding in, a beer tent, not just the alcohol component, but just kind of the nature of, sitting for long periods of time, kind of crammed together. So from that standpoint, I agree a lot with what Ann said. I think the festival fairground atmosphere piece of it, logistically, I just don't know how to do that safely. I've been going over, things that I've seen and things that we've recommended to other businesses. But, businesses are brick and mortar stores, they have capacity limits, this is, a wide open space with multiple entry points. It's gonna be really hard to control crowd and people, and especially the food and beverage areas and the rides, and, asking ride operators to go every other chair and wipe down things after people. I mean, it's not within their normal scope of work. So I don't know how responsible they would be, and if we want to put the responsibility on them to, be doing that for our residents. So for those reasons, I strongly recommend that portion not go forward this year. I think there have been some discussions about fireworks that I think make sense. I'm not a fireworks expert by any stretch, but I have been told from multiple sources that there are things you can add to them to make them go up higher, so people can see them from farther away. So, potentially having several parking lots or several areas as vantage points to see the fireworks, to disperse the crowd, especially if, if the Rock is willing to shoot them from a higher vantage point. But again, we might be the only show in town, so, controlling traffic in, traffic out, and making sure that, that we're not overwhelmed in that capacity would be a challenge as well, on our police. The parade is hard. I've seen and heard of people doing reverse parades where, the float is stationary and people drive their cars around them. And I think that's what Waukesha is doing. And the only thing that gives me pause is the people that would be in the parade are tending to be some of our most vulnerable citizens because they're older. And those are the people we want to protect the most. So potentially putting them in harm's way, even though it's in the outdoors, putting them together, with each other and with a crowd. And I know that, Mr. Zimmerman and The Rock have done a wonderful job with their outdoor movie, but the premise was that people were supposed to stay in their cars, but people aren't staying in their cars. They're on top of their cars, they're in front of their cars, they're running around, especially little kids. I mean, it's hard to control people getting excited, especially with this being kind of like another big holiday weekend where people can get out and do things. Everybody wants to do things. So, like I said, my recommendation, for what it's worth from a public health standpoint, is fireworks. I think we can definitely find a way to do and make that safe for all involved. But everything else, my recommendation would be to cancel for this year, just because with the crowd size, it's just too hard to control the amount of people that are coming in and just the excitement of people wanting to do things. It's hard to contain that excitement, which is, it's great. I'm happy that people want to be outdoors and want to do all of this. And I don't want to be the Debbie Downer of the group. I don't want to see a lot of illness come from this because too many people got in one space at one time. But I'd be happy to answer questions if anybody has anything specific.
What about, I've had a couple food vendors suggest, we could, set up, more distance apart and everything, because, you have food trucks out there, and I know the Rock does it where they have their food trucks there. I mean, if we were doing it maybe on the Rock premises, where we have a big space and parking, if we had a couple food vendors, would that still be possible? To help them, these food vendors are, taking a beating.
So what I would say to that is, and I've been to the Milky Way Drive-In and how they worked it with their food vendors is they had a couple of food trucks, people got their food and went back to their cars to eat their
Yeah.
food. And that worked for that size crowd, but it's only 100 or so cars. So when you think about how many other people would be in this space, and they put, taped or painted X's on the ground to, stand 6 feet apart, it's just, when you get that many people in one space, it's gonna be hard to control it. I understand what you're saying, and I think it works in smaller venues. I just think when you're the only game in town, there's gonna be a lot of people either on foot or driving in, and it's hard to do that. I know that The Rock has not started their food truck days yet. I'm not sure exactly when they're planning to start that, just because of that sort of logistical concern of, how they're gonna space people out.
You're all set.
Mr. Chairman, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Mayor Olson,
And I'll sit in your seat.
and I'm gonna try my darndest not to be myself and sit back and listen rather than talk. Alderwoman Hanneman is going, yeah, right. So anyway, comments about the Rock and fireworks and centering events there. Certainly a great venue for events, but selfishly, we have to look at if we're going to try to disperse viewing and try to involve as much of the community as dispersed as possible, that's not what we're gonna do it. Because it's at the far northern edge of our community, so anything we do there immediately eliminates any opportunity for people to be to the north. And then we're immediately providing entertainment to Greendale and Greenfield. So my suggestion is you consider that fact and at a minimum, either leave the fireworks if you do fireworks, leave them where we always do them or move them south. So that the majority of the community can see them from where they live and not have to get in their cars and go someplace. Consideration. That's not a takeaway from Ballpark Commons Rock, because it's a great venue for that. But if that's where you're shooting off fireworks, everybody in Alderwoman Hamlet almost did it. In Alderwoman Hanneman's district has to get in their car and drive there. If we leave them where they are and shoot them off higher, there's a potential that they could stay home and watch it. Just a comment.
I don't think we can actually shoot them off higher. We're limited by how large of a shell we can use for the distance from the houses. So we can't go to a bigger shell.
But we can shoot them higher
Maybe we need a bigger shell.
Well, we can check it out. We got the fireworks master right behind us. Or we can go somewhere else. The county is not issuing permits, but we know people in the county. What about Friendly Park?
The one they had for the anniversary, where was that at again? That was over by the complex, sports complex.
What I'm suggesting is let's not rule things out, let's try to rule things in and make them work.
What about, and I know Greendale still had the parade and fireworks on whole, they were planning on doing it. What about,
Greendale's still in.
yeah, so there'll be fireworks at Greendale and us, or should we go in with Greendale and combine it? And save a lot of cost too, split it with them.
Then we're back to the same issue again of driving. Now people are driving even farther because now they gotta get close to Greenville.
And remember human nature. You and I want to be underneath the fireworks. So they're going to try to get as close as possible, which means they're going to park in Franklin. Which means police now have traffic control issues.
But that's,
Again, I want us to look at opportunities, not at issues, but we got to talk about all of that.
I'm just thinking the parking, parking's always a problem, even where we have our festival, and the Rock offers that whole parking, that thing is almost Miller Park range. So that people could, a lot of vehicles could park there. And if we do it in our area we do it now, we're not gonna, we got the library, and it's very limited parking, but there will be a lot of people that are gonna come. A lot.
But remember, we're gonna hopefully shoot them higher, and we're gonna tell people that they can stay at home because they'll be higher and no ground displays.
Yeah, but
So there's no reason to come here.
they won't listen to that. What do you think, Tony? You're shaking your head.
To shoot them higher, well, we have a limit of 400 feet or 600 feet, I think it is, from the point of shoot off. To shoot them higher, you need, there's another different type of fireworks that will go higher. But because of the space that we have, we can't go shoot them that high. That's why we have a certain number that when we order the fireworks, let's just say it's at 600, that they can't go any higher than that because of the space we have. So I think it's 400 and some feet from where they shoot it to those homes and to the area where the crowd sits. This year we were gonna have something different where we were gonna shoot from both sides. We were gonna have a display from both sides of the tree line so that people on this side would see a lot more of the fireworks as the people on the other side. So there's a lot of work, I just don't order the fireworks, I work with Pat, but then I have to work with the shooter, and they come out here and check the area and do their planning. Even though they come every year, it sort of changes every year because of the height of the trees. So, but to shoot higher, you can't because you need a bigger shot, and we don't have the space.
What if they shot them from the baseball bat? Behind the fire station.
You gotta figure the 400 feet or 600 feet, whatever the law is, I don't remember what it is, from the shooting point. Like if you were at the Rock, you could get the bigger, more powerful fireworks, but then it cost you a little more money. So,
But they're willing to go in with us if we split the cost. And I guess I can't believe that, correct me if I'm wrong, Sergeant, there's gotta be certain protocols, how people are going in, how people are leaving, the way you guys control it, isn't there?
Well, yeah, we try to set up traffic patterns and minimize, the problems caused by traffic and the wait time, because that can be an issue too if people have to wait hours to get out of somewhere.
Right.
The police department doesn't have an official stance either way, whether the 4th of July is canceled, the civic celebration is canceled or not. I can tell you from a personal experience, from having done this for so many years, this is similar to back when we had the tornadoes. And we ended up being the only show in town. We actually ended up having to abandon traffic posts because so many people came into the grounds, we were having so many fights and things like that, that we were not even able to direct traffic. We had to put all our attention to the problems that were occurring from the masses of people. The problem with setting them off by the city halls, there is nowhere to park. Setting them off at the Rock, again, there really is nowhere to park. If you're trying to limit access to something from the park, maybe the House of Corrections grounds, because there's nowhere, that's all, could be controlled to some extent, but the other thing you gotta think about is being the only show in town, you have hundreds of thousands of people that go to Lakefront every year. They hear there's fireworks here, guess where they're coming? They're just gonna block streets, they're gonna park where they want, they're gonna go in people's yards. I know there's no perfect solution here, and you wanna celebrate, what our country's about. But there's a lot of things.
And don't forget, we want to not have people congregate. Don't want to bring them together. Right, Court?
That would be ideal, yes.
I mean, I don't wanna be the killjoy here, but I wanna keep, my job is to work with Courtney to keep our communities safe, that's number one. And yeah, I'm gonna get all kinds of flack from everybody, but that's my job, keep people safe. So I wanna keep reminding you. And John, you and I have talked, Alderwoman Hanneman, and Ms. Adamski and I have talked ad nauseam. I wanna have a 4th of July celebration, but I gotta keep people safe first. That's why I keep reminding you. Bringing people into one space, not a good thing until we've got control over this virus. That's why I keep poo-pooing this, bring everybody to the rock. Sorry, I've taken over.
And
Sure, you wanna,
if I may, and as an elected official, I too have to be concerned with keeping people safe, and I, fully take what Courtney says under advisement and, respect her opinion. And thinking about that Frumming Park idea for the fireworks, Frumming Park is one of the highest locations in the city of Franklin, probably other than the Rock. And if the fireworks were able to be set up, say down there on the baseball field, we could conceivably be farther than 400 feet away from anything around there and shoot them even higher. So if you're shooting higher from the highest point in the city, that might be a more feasible option. We could possibly, again, and I say this with a 50-50 devil's advocate, people could park at Franklin High School. They could park down at the sports complex. The edges of 51st Street are quite wide. We could even monitor traffic in some way, shape, or form so people could park along 51st Street, along Hughes Road, even along 68th Street. You know, I don't know how that traffic pattern would work, but I think that would be the most feasible opportunity to still be able to have the fireworks display. And by golly, I really still want to have a fireworks display too. If there's any way we can figure it out and get it done, and if we felt that the community would support this and behave themselves and stay in their cars, you know, we could walk up and down the streets with megaphones, please stay in your car, or I don't know. Not that I want to put myself in a position to police people, but I would like to at least look at the possibility of having the fireworks come off from Frumming Park this year, at the very least. I struggle with how to feasibly make a parade work. I think that it would be great if our community could come up with some sort of ideas or even supports for local neighborhoods. You know, just give ideas for people to celebrate together in the same way, but at their homes in some way, shape, or form. I'm just brainstorming right now, so I guess I'll shut up, but I do advocate the Frumming Park idea, to at least look into it further.
Commissioners, I'm getting a request from your fans on the internet that you pull yourselves closer to your microphones, please. And if you're comfortable, take your mask off, because it's garbling your audio.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Scott, you wanna make any comments?
Yeah, actually, I kinda like the idea of the Frumming Park thing. I don't know if it's something we can do, like possibly have it where the streets are blocked off, like 51st, and have kinda like a block party style, where you have the food vendors by the park, like maybe a couple of them, and people can drive by, and then people who are in the food vendors can actually go up to the person's car, ask them what they want, and go back, make it, and then while they're waiting in their car, they can still get it to them, but they can keep their distance, their social distance. I don't know if that's feasible, especially with the traffic and stuff. I don't know how traffic's gonna be for something like that, but it's just a thought that maybe we could block off, just have like a kind of like a block party style thing, just on one day, like the 4th of July, and then that would be it. That's all we'd be able to do. I don't know if that'd be a good idea, or if that'd be good for keeping social distance. There's a lot of people probably still stay in their cars, and they can just park on the street and watch the fireworks, and all that's done in Louisville too. It's just my thought, I thought it was something, I don't know if it's something we can do or not.
I guess I'm last, huh?
And jump in.
Yes.
For some reason, I remember water being an issue or a concern, ideal, preferable to set off fireworks. There is a larger body of water next to, off of 68th Street there. That is on the county grounds. Would it be possible to have people park in the field? Or is it, because that's now a conservancy, is that not okay?
That would depend on the weather,
Right.
how wet the grass is, if the cars would sit there or not.
Well, the county's not issuing park permits, but that would be a project for.
Tony, then we would have to have the fireworks company also come and assess it, what they could do. I think, we're right now, theorizing, but Pat, would have to bring someone out and say, hey, we can do it here, we can do this here. I think, let them know that we're still interested in the fireworks, and we do actually have a contract with them. And, I don't think they care about where it's at, since it's in the same area, but.
Well, a lot of people have been canceling their fireworks.
Right.
So if we cancel our fireworks, you can bring that over to next year. We did that a few years ago, where we had to cancel the fireworks. I don't remember how many years ago, maybe 20, 30 years ago, that fireworks were not shot. So we had double fireworks the following year. No. But the fireworks company would like to know if we're gonna go ahead with it or not. So if the decision is tonight that you're not gonna go ahead with it, I will call Pat in the morning and let him know. The permit, I gave the permits to the fire department, so if they approve it, well, if they, at least we got the permits to shoot. So, but if you hold it someplace else, they have to, after the fireworks are shot and over, the job isn't done, because they have to go and check the area to make sure there is no duds. Like a few years ago, remember that, Steve? We got sued. And what it cost the city, $1 million, I think? Because somebody found a dud and it exploded in their hand. Mm-hmm. That was a few years ago. See, I've been doing this since 1960.
I know, you're a fireworks man.
I've been on the 4th of July Commission as chairman and member, and now as a non-voting member. So it's been since 1960 that I've been on the commission. So,
And you get the best fireworks ever. You're the man.
Everybody's copied us, everyone's gone to Spielberg.
You said it out loud now. Man.
well, you get to the point working with these people every year, you call them up and say, here's what we want. And they know exactly what you want. Give us a good fireworks.
Don't tell them the name. Knock it off. Give them
We had Barlotta for a few
No,
years too.
give them the name.
Well, Greendale actually now has them too, so.
Don't give them the name.
All right, well,
With you, if I could just interject real quick.
Yes.
With you talking about the Fleming Park there, there's actually, and it sits lower, the elevation drops, but if you're shooting higher, you could probably make that up. There are isolated soccer fields that are back behind Fleming Park that are off the Oak Leaf Trail that very few people even know are there. That you could set up the fireworks there and really nobody would even know where you are, and then shoot them from there. And, if you're just trying to get, let people park or in the area or whatever, they would then not be able to congregate right where the fireworks were. I mean, they could still figure it out, but it would be almost like you're doing it secret, super secret kind of thing. And then all of a sudden, boom, they go up in the air and people don't know where they're coming from.
Yeah, but you know what, Sergeant? You just put it on Facebook, everybody knows now.
But if you don't put it on Facebook, it's
It's
just
too
going
late.
off in this area,
It's
they don't
too
know
late.
exactly where. The other comment I had is regarding the parade. I know we talked about parking cars on the parade route and stuff. If you go back years ago, we used to allow that to happen. It became very dangerous and we were having problems because the people that park their cars there and stuff, that doesn't allow enough people to get in there to watch, plus people pull out into the parade, before it's over and things like that. So we stopped allowing cars to be parked on the parade route for safety reasons. So just interject on that point too.
Are we talking just the parade and fireworks, no entertainment in between that?
No entertainment, that's,
No
no beer
entertainment?
sales,
So there'll be no carnival, no,
no carnival, I'll cover that.
that's gonna cost the city quite a bit more money.
Just for the fireworks,
So-
and, police and
And the
DPW,
that'll be our largest cost.
Yeah.
I think it's a
but
great,
that'd be a lot less though.
great kind of revenue though.
John, what about the cost? Fundraising, do you need fundraising?
Yeah, we held back on that, we held back because, go out and ask for money for something that, we might not be even doing. So we did not send any donation letters out. Even though, like Bobby said, probably would need it. But I could cover a couple things too before we, number one, the carnival. Carnival was a big money maker for us. We made up to 19 grand off of that. And it's a problem for them because, like Courtney said, they have to go by the distance rule, they have to go by the cleaning rule. And he also has a big problem with labor. Being able to bring in people that, where he had all these other activities he'd go to, while having 1 or 2 year sparsely, he can't get the people to work for him. And that's working on those big rides, you just can't bring some kid off the street and have him run those rides. So the carnival is really gonna be hurt from all this. And, he said he would try to comply and maybe bring less rides, but I think the carnival would definitely be out. As far as even beer sales and all that, I think what Pete said about the volunteers and the virus, being affected, I think that's a no-no even just because of this virus. I got my email got out there when it got on Facebook, and I got many emails, and today I must have had 25 emails, and out of those 25 emails, 25 people asked us to cancel. Not one, sent one out, even though when we got on Facebook, then there was a big debate that went on, should I, we saw that too, where people talked, oh yeah, we, if you don't wanna go, don't go, and, but today was, knowing that we're having this meeting, I got one on, and I got some really good ones too that felt, it wasn't safe for their children, wasn't safe for, their families, and they all wanted it to be canceled. But I think the fireworks thing, yeah, I think they're talking about doing a whole festival, and, I think just doing the fireworks is what I would say would be a possibility. Yeah.
An idea just popped in my head. A lot of people aren't able to watch their computers on larger screens. And if people are gonna be celebrating in their homes, I don't know if it would be feasible to do a fireworks display and then live stream it, if that's something our community would be interested in.
Sure.
Yeah, great idea. Everyone watches the big, they wanna put up with the crowds.
You won't have to
Going down.
feel the booms, but I mean, you'll
Yeah.
see the show.
And people watch the big ones for summer, they watch them on TV, the big boom and all that, so. And it's a great idea.
For people who can't get out, I mean, we have a lot of people in the community who, be it in assisted living situations or aren't comfortable yet going out in public for health concerns, it offers them some level of accessibility. Can I ask real quickly, I'm sorry, what is the cost of the fireworks on an annual basis, do you know offhand?
This year we were gonna spend 19,000,
Okay,
and we did raise it up. Usually it was 15 to 16,000, and then we, wanted to improve it a bit. We went up to 19. And well, last year we actually had two days of it, but that was just for special. This one we were looking at about 19,000.
okay.
I like the idea of live streaming, which is a good idea, but since, the lakefront fireworks have been canceled, then could we possibly get like one of the TV stations to come in there and just kind of do a live?
I think that would really open a can of worms, so.
Right.
Yeah, then, like Mayor Olson said, we wanna do it for the city people mostly, and I think that would just really cause a lot of outsiders coming in, don't you think, Sergeant?
I think that's gonna happen anyway if you advertise you're having fireworks. Because like I said, those hundreds of thousands of people that wanna be at the lakefront, they're gonna wanna come out here.
And if you're comfortable,
I'm not saying all of them, but you're gonna get a lot of them. They're gonna wanna come out, set up their campsites with their drinks and do all that thing, spend all night out there partying like they do down at the lakefront.
Well, my thought with the live streaming was then you wouldn't have an open park or an open facility where it would just be, watch it from your home. You could have a parade during the day.
Is it realistic to think that our community members wouldn't, oh, I'm just gonna go down and sit on the hill, and then the next person over, oh, I'm just gonna go park over here. I don't know if that's a realistic assumption.
Yeah, remember, fireworks last 30 minutes,
Right.
30 minutes, what we're talking about.
And the same concept, you could have a virtual parade too, where people watch it. You go to all your units that you have in your parade, you have them film whatever they would have done in the parade. A minute or 30-second clip, and then you put that out on the internet, and you put it all together, and you put it out as a virtual parade.
Mayor Olson?
I'll throw candy at you. Tootsie Rolls.
Well, if it were going to be focused virtually, then it wouldn't necessarily need to be announced where it would be occurring. And we would talk about a number of different options, and that would actually even leave more options open to us if we don't need to have the space for people. There's other water sources we can consider.
There's one other thing another item we didn't cover, and that was porta potties. Porta potties, I mean, if we have it on certain grounds where we have gatherings, then what about having, you gotta have some kind of,
Sorry.
yeah.
Relief stations.
But I mean, if we did have a festival too, that would have been a major, major problem. Anybody think of something else?
Just want to point out too that the cost of the parade and the fireworks are our largest cost for police and DPW, so that's another about $25,000. That they have to pay. And then,
I think if they knew that this was a thing where we're not bringing in any revenue and we're just trying to do something for the community. We used to not be charged by the police and DPW
yeah,
until we grew into what we are. And I was there too for the tornado one, because my house blew down that day. just was being put up, and, we did have the crowd, and they came from Oak Creek, you know, 'cause they had camp. But then we also had, you know, entertainment, we had beer, you know, other things that drew them to our event. Not just, you know, they just didn't come for the fireworks.
The
So,
biggest crowds were for the fireworks.
yeah, I mean, if they're gonna come, and we have great fireworks, we really do. Now they're gonna come and see how great they are, and they're gonna wanna come back.
But back then, we didn't have to worry about the COVID. This year we do.
It's a prime opportunity if you didn't have a virus wandering around.
But here they can watch, you know, here's somewhere they can watch it in their cars, you know, or, you know, it's not like where they have to be on the grounds to watch it, or be close to anyone, they can keep their distance.
Well, John, you know, again, my job is to keep people safe, and I look at what's happening at Milky Way. The promise was they'll be in their cars. The reality is, they're not in their cars.
If I could ask
Because it's a nice spring night, summer night, they're got their lawn chairs and kids are out playing catch. It's gonna happen here. And that's what Courtney doesn't want.
a quick question for you, Mayor, because last Thursday night at the special common council meeting, we did extend the ordinance that establishes a health emergency in the city of Franklin, and that is extended for 40 days through July 7th. For the city to be hosting any sort of gathering, does that go against our ordinance?
How are you gonna enforce
If I
something
read
like
the ordinance, it does.
You know, if you have fireworks, you tell me they'll watch from cars, you know. You know they're gonna have fireworks, people are gonna come. But they're not gonna be in their cars, they're gonna be just like next to each other. Like you usually have, maybe not as great, but people they're gonna come and see the fireworks, and they don't care. You know, they'll wear a mask. It's hard to control something like that. There's no way you can have a crowd control when you have something like this. So,
Especially when there's such a pent-up demand.
Well, we've made our open discussion, I think we should, put in a vote, each and every one of us. What, you know, one is have a festival with everything, two would be, have fireworks, and three would be canceled.
May I ask one more question?
Sure, sure.
This question's for you, the health department. I've read some concerns that in addition to keeping COVID under control, having everybody isolated in their homes is also unhealthy. Have you noticed a surge in any of those concerns?
Are you referring to like mental health
Mental
concerns?
health issues.
Sure, and I think all of us to some degree probably have experienced it in one way or another, just because we're, doing things that we're not used to doing as human beings, we want to be social, we want to be around people, so the fact that we've been asked to kind of shelter or limit our, interactions with people, I think everyone's felt that to some degree, and then individuals that are that have mental health conditions, whether diagnosed or undiagnosed, this is hitting them harder, absolutely. And I think that's, one of the things you see when restrictions were lifted and you see a lot of people, flocking, we talk about what happened in the Ozarks, or you talk about Lake Geneva or the Dells or whatnot. It's just human nature to go back and want to do things. So I think it's striking that balance between, kind of returning to what we're used to and what we wanna do, but also being safe, and, you know, how do we find that balance between the two, you know, without, you know, putting, individuals at undue risk. I mean, I'll admit, you know, the vast majority of people who get this, they're fine. But the people who have, they're even immunocompromised, they're elderly, they have pre-existing health conditions, they're not fine, and they're very sick. Whether that's the very old, the very young, or people with immune issues or health problems, so, and those are the people that, you know, we're trying to protect in one way or another, so, yeah, that balance is hard, and that balance has been hard for myself personally in my department, you know, to try to figure out what the balance is for the community to balance health and safety with, you know, their, you know, mental health, their livelihood, you know, the economic impact, and all of that together. And I think that's the same question that you all have tonight is, you know, how do you find that balance between, you know, wanting an event that everybody wants to happen while being safe, and where is that balance? Sorry, that didn't really answer your question at all.
No, it did, because it addresses both issues
Yeah.
and it's complex and there is no simple solution.
No, there isn't. I mean, and 50% of the people are gonna be your best friend, and 50% of the people are gonna be your worst enemy, and that's, unfortunately, that's just the way that this circumstance is playing out.
May I also ask the sergeant a question? Has, emergency services, do you know if they've noticed a change or a spike in calls in terms of medical versus mental health?
I mean, it's a complex answer. When this first came out, we dropped. Then as it continued going on, our call load went up. Both, you know, domestic violence, mental health issues. We don't really respond to too many rescues anymore unless there's a police issue. And we stopped that because it exposes us, that let the fire department, you know, that's their job. But we've seen a lot of minor property crime go up, so a lot of retail thefts and things like that. Because people can't afford their food and stuff, so they're stealing it. So when we open back up, we're coming back down. Now we're dealing with other issues.
Mr. Bob?
Hey, Olson, do we wanna end up on national TV like they did at the Ozarks and stuff? Showing our festival with all these people there. Just when I think about public relations for the city.
The answer to that is obvious. That's for you to vote at, that's.
Nobody wants to do this. Fair.
I will make a motion,
Okay,
with a very, very heavy heart. I'll make the motion that the city of Franklin will cancel their 4th of July civic celebration for 2020.
I'll second the motion.
those in favor say, raise your hand.
That's canceled.
That was a recommendation to the common council.
That we recommend, that we recommend that motion.
And those, disapprove? Raise your hand. Okay, we got a vote of 5-3. The recommendation is to cancel. I think we covered everything, we waited, we did everything we could. You know, we waited as long as we could. We thought things would get better, we thought the virus would be more under control, but we still see, you know, things happening with it, and it's every day, it's a new day of frustration, you know, and we want to bring joy to everybody, and the celebration does, but if there is these hang-ups, you know, and also we don't want to be responsible for anyone that would get sick. You know, and hopefully next year, you know, we can do a better festival and we can have this thing taken care of and out of our, you know, out of our hands, and everybody would make out again and have fun. But I think we covered as much as we could, you know? So,
To be clear, so everything is canceled,
everything
no
will be canceled.
parade, no fireworks, nothing. Okay, then I have to get on the phone to volunteers, let them know.
Yep, we got that. I will let the.
How would all this message get out to the city residents?
Right now, it's being streamed right now to them, and it's on Facebook.
Put a comment on Facebook and then I just send out an email to all the parade participants.
You wouldn't believe how one little, post of, you know, the Fourth of July canceled caused a frenzy. Caused a frenzy of people to come back and, you know,
Well, when you have the best event in the region, people are passionate about it, and rightly so.
Besides, everybody's gotta come pick up the chairs anyway, so they probably set out on the road already.
Council still has to vote on it.
Yeah, council.
yes.
They'll take your recommendations.
So for, you know, for record wise, it'll be presented to council. Council meets tomorrow, and it's not enough notice for tomorrow, so it'll be for council in 2 weeks. So if anybody else, have any questions? No. Our recommendation is to cancel.
But can we make this public before, do we have to wait until the 18th of June then?
Well, just say it's subject to the council approval.
But it's council.
Yeah, Tony, you've been doing it for you know, I've been doing it now for almost since 85, so 25 years. 35 years.
That was for 40th. Remember the 40th? That's when you first were on the committee. That's when I was the chairman. And then Pat took over the next year. So
I was doing it when Amy Day was the chairman.
I got a good memory, you know, for an 88-year-old guy. I remember we only had only 4,000 residents in the whole city of Franklin. That included the House of Correction. That's how we got to be a city of Franklin.
Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
I forgot to press record.
It's on Facebook.
Everyone, but okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Can I say something first?
Sure.
I understand that, like you said, it is with a heavy heart, and it is with a heavy heart that I did vote on, you know, either way, it stinks for everybody. You know, the citizens always look forward to something like this because we're celebrating the 4th of July, we're celebrating our independence. And this pandemic has really just hurt us, like, immensely bad. And either way, it's a lose-lose. And it's just, it is what it is, but even with me saying no, it still hurts because, you know, we always look forward to something like this. You know, and now, I know it stinks either way, but I just wanted to voice my opinion on it. I know it's hard for everyone on this board, everyone on the city of Franklin, yeah, it hurts and it really stings. So I just thought I'd voice my opinion on that.
Thank you. No, thank you. No, agree. Record. Okay. Yes. Do we have a second? No, we didn't. Let's start again. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
And a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried, meeting adjourned.